Yo, welcome to the first weigh-in. Okay, so confession time, right? So I'm out in Tennessee right now. I'm actually leaving tomorrow, and we've been here for about 2 weeks. So the first weigh-in I did was actually right before I left, so that was about 2 weeks ago. And ever since then, since we've been out here, I have been eating like crazy. I've not been doing my cardio. I have been active because this is a rather large house, rather big property, so I've been able to get a lot of steps in. However, they have so much candy, baked goods, just all the worst kinds of food you can imagine here, and I enjoyed myself. So I know that I have definitely gained weight. I can tell by looking at my face, looking at like my chest and just my legs. I can see how much weight I've gained. So I already know that the numbers are not going to be lower. They're actually going to be higher. But with that being said, when I get back home, I'm going to definitely be stringent on this cut. You know, I made mistakes while I was out here, but that's what this whole thing is accountability. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. I will show you guys the numbers. So enough of my excuses. Let's go ahead and see where I'm at, and we'll do better next week. Hey, what's up? Ant here. The barbecue student is back at it again. Today I am going to be preparing to smoke a brisket and a pork butt at the same time on my Weber Smoky Mountain 22-inch. I got my Weber Smoky Mountain about 3 months ago. I've been cooking so much on that thing. I absolutely love smoking. I love just kicking back, relaxing, doing multiple things, and just like checking on the meat, checking on the temperatures. I just love it. The smell that's in the air, there's nothing like it. I have more experience now with my smoker. I've been able to do a lot better at controlling the temperatures. All of that to say is that I think that my smoking game has gotten a lot better. So this is going to be my third brisket I've smoked. In terms of pork butts, this is going to be the second one I've smoked. So the pork butt is a boneless pork butt. I buy my meat from Costco, and they did not have bone-in pork butts at the time when I went. It was late on a Monday night. And the brisket is a prime brisket from Costco. So I have to start the cook at 4 a.m. tomorrow. The way it's gonna work is that I'm making the pork butt as like a snack kind of thing, but I'm also gonna give some to my family, or my parents and my brothers and my siblings. So basically I'm gonna be smoking the pork butt while I'm smoking the brisket, and that's gonna be lunch. And then the brisket, I'm hoping to get it done by about 4 p.m. and then let it rest for 3 to 4 hours. And then I'm splitting it with 2 other friends. So then I'm gonna cut it up and then give everybody their portions, and then that'll be the deal with the brisket. The brisket is 15 pounds. So after trimming it, I'm thinking it's gonna be about 13-ish pounds. So I'm estimating that it's gonna take about 13 to 14 hours to cook at 250, which is what I'm planning to do in the Weber Smoky Mountain. And also that's the same temperature that I cook pork butt at. So I figured, hey, why not just throw one on? It's Thursday night currently, so I will be preparing both of these cuts of meat. Yeah, basically get the charcoal ready, get the wood ready. But anyway, I'm gonna get to it. I don't have a cameraman. I only have one hand, and it's gonna be covered in like meat and glove. So what I'll likely do is just do all the dirty work right now, trimming and seasoning the meat, and then I'll just show you guys what it looks like afterwards. So fast forward time, and now the meat is done. So as you can see, I have trimmed and seasoned both the brisket and the pork butt. So in terms of trimming, there wasn't much that needed to be done. I didn't even cut any of the fat off. With pork butt, there's a lot of fat in in the butt or the shoulder. So the shoulder has a ton of fat in it, but that's kind of a part of the, I guess, charm of the pulled pork sandwich, at least in my opinion, is like when you cook pork butt low and slow, like the fat like basically turns into like the softest jello you've ever felt. So when that mixes in with the meat, when you start to pull the meat off, oh man, it's so good. So I wasn't worried about there being too much fat in the pork butt. So basically all I did was score the top. So the seasoning is very simple. I'm actually on a cut, which means that I'm dieting right now, so I'm trying to lower my calories. I make my own rub, and the way I do it is I just look up recipes online, and whatever they say, when it says add brown sugar, I replace that with Swerve brown sugar, which is 0 calories. But of course, there are some calories, it just rounds down to 0, so be mindful of that. You can't eat a whole bag of Swerve and think it has absolutely no calories in it. There is a little bit of calories. So whenever it asks for brown sugar, replace it with Swerve. And when it says white sugar, I use monk fruit sweetener, but you can use whatever sweetener you want. Enough of the pork butt, let's talk about the brisket. So brisket needed way more trimming. I'm gonna talk about 2 things. So first off is the fat, and second of all is Brisket Junior over there, okay? So let's talk about the fat first. So I cut off so much fat off of this brisket, and I have plans for that fat. You know what, I'm gonna tell you right now. So basically the reason why I have this fat in a saucepan is because I'm basically gonna take this fat, and instead of throwing it away like I usually do, because I don't have a sausage maker, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to basically cook it slowly until it renders down into a liquid. And basically I'm going to use that liquid, or like beef fat, beef tallow, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to use that to basically kind of baste the brisket once it's ready to wrap in the butcher paper. So I got this technique from Mad Scientist Barbecue, Jeremy Yoder. He did a video recently about how, dude who does Franklin Barbecue, how he gets his brisket super juicy and super glistening and super just like amazing. In his experiment, he put beef tallow on his wrap, so I'm trying that today, and I'm gonna see if it makes a huge difference. Done talking about the fat, let's talk about Brisket Junior. Okay, so for me personally, when I buy a brisket, okay, the first time I bought a brisket, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was like sweating, I was like, you know, people, like I have no idea what I'm looking for when I'm looking at a brisket. Now that I've had a little bit more experience, the first brisket I got, the flat was super uneven. So why does that matter? Okay, so because the flat is uneven, the flat is basically going to be the least tender part of the brisket. So the point has so much fat in it that there's no way you can really dry out the point. So this is the flat, this is the point. So the point has tons of fat in it, the flat is pretty lean. So because of that, it's very easy to burn the flat. So if you get a flat that is uneven, that means the skinnier side is more likely to dry out. And basically, if that dries out and it gets really hot, it's going to kind of, the heat is kind of going to speed through the meat, and you're going to end up with like the whole flat being dry. So to prevent that from happening, I basically cut the flat in a way that it's even with the thickest part of the flat. And I just kind of eyeballed it, looked at the side of it, picked it up, and then saw where basically this thin side, you know, it's kind of like slopes down. This is thin. I looked at it and I was like, okay, point is about even with this thickness. So then I just cut straight down, and I'm not gonna waste this. So what I'm gonna do is tomorrow I'm gonna put this on the smoker as well. Kind of just cook it like a little mini brisket. So I call that Brisket Junior. Without any further ado, I'm gonna stick these in the fridge, and they will be ready to go. And also the fat, I'll put those all inside of my fridge over there. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the wood and charcoal ready. Whoa, welcome to the future. Yeah, it's about 5 o'clock in the morning now. So I am ready to pull the meat out. I'm gonna leave the beef fat in there because I'm not ready to liquefy that yet, to heat that up. So I'm just gonna leave that in there for the time being. Probably take it out about 30 minutes prior to the time I want to heat it up, and I'm just gonna do it outside on my propane grill so I don't make the whole house smell like beef fat. So all that to say, I'm gonna take these out and get started on this cook. So I decided I'm gonna go ahead and start on making tallow. The reason being is after doing a little bit of research, I found that it's actually gonna take a few hours to do this, you know, because you don't wanna burn the fat, so you're gonna have to basically render it at a very low temperature. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and turn on this grill. So let's turn the propane on, turn this on, and then there we go. And yeah, so I'm trying to do this at a very low temperature. Low. Man, that is not very low. Is that as low as it goes? Dang. Okay, after thinking for a little bit longer, I figured I can't just sit here and keep like tossing the fat because I need to work. So I ended up just taking one of the cast iron grates from the charcoal barbecue that I'm borrowing from a friend and just threw it on top of the burner. That way it gives it a little bit more separation from the heat. So yeah, problem solved. Okay, rendered beef fat update. I did not show on camera what I did, but basically as this continues to render down, a lot of the smaller pieces get kind of very dark brown and crispy. There's no more fat left in it to render, so to prevent it from burning, I've just been picking out the pieces that are completely rendered down and throwing them away. Once these big pieces have rendered down all the way, I will strain the fat and then I will put it in a jar and it'll be ready to use once I'm ready to wrap. Okay, pit update. So basically the pit temperatures went way out of control. They went up to about like 330. So what I ended up doing was just closing down all the vents. So basically constrict all airflow. It's kind of not an ideal situation. You always want the air to be flowing over the meat so it doesn't add a bitter taste when it's like oversaturated with the smoke. But you gotta do what you gotta do. I'd rather the flavor profile to get obscured for the 10 minutes I had to close all the vents versus you know, ending up with a really dry piece of meat because it was cooking too hot. So I cracked it open a little bit so that it will stay at the temperature it is right now at about 264. Again, I'm trying to cook between 265 and 270. So yeah, those are the updates. We are about 2.5 hours into the cook, so in an hour I'm gonna be looking to spray. You know what, actually I should probably look right now. You know what, I probably can spray a little bit on the corner of this flat. Yeah, Brisket Jr. is very close. So I think by the time I'm ready to spray the whole thing, then Brisket Jr. should be ready to go. Okay, it's been 3 hours. As you can see, the meat and bark is starting to form, but it's starting to get these like striations on it. So basically at this point, I'm just going to be spraying it with apple cider vinegar every like 30 to 45 minutes. We also wrapped Brisket Jr., so it was temping at about 180, so it should come up to the 200 that we're looking for in a very short period of time. I'm guessing probably by the time I have to spray, the Brisket Jr. will be ready, and we'll go ahead and cut through that and eat that for breakfast. All right, until then. I'm about to cut Brisket Jr. It's been sitting out for about 30 minutes. I took it off, yeah, about 30 minutes ago, and it was at about 205 degrees when I pulled it. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this thing and see what it looks like on the inside. Let's just go ahead and see what it looks like inside. All right. So you got a bit of a smoke ring on it. Juice, it is very juicy still. So yeah, not bad for a Brisket Jr. Cameraman, you wanna give this thing a try? Perfect. Good, huh? Yeah. That's freaking good. But yeah, I'm just gonna continue to spray every 30 to 45 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 more hours. I'll wrap it, and then after that, it's just a waiting game. So it's been about 4 hours. I actually have somewhere I need to be at noon. So regardless of where the bark is on the pork butt, I have to wrap it now because I need it to be done by noon. Normally I would want to cook meat until the bark is at like a really dark color and the meat or the temperature of the meat has hit about like no higher than 170, because at that point the meat no longer absorbs smoke. But anyway, all that's aside, I have to wrap the pork butt right now. So what I'm gonna do, have my brother acting as cameraman right now, so he's helping me out because this is a very involved process. I need to take the brisket off, put it on the side, and then take the pork butt, put it over to the other grill, wrap it up, and then put it back, and then assemble everything together. farther back because the edges are the hottest part of the grill. The flat is going to cook faster, so I'm trying to get it as close to the center as possible. So I'm also going to go ahead and spray the brisket. And again, I'm just spraying the meat portions of it. Don't need to spray the fat because we want that to render down. All right, it's looking really good. So let's close her up. All right, it's been about like 5.5, 6 hours since I put the pork butt on. Last time I checked it about 35 minutes ago, it was at about getting close to 200. So I think it's about ready. You know, I'm gonna let it sit for about half an hour. So I think that it'll continue cooking. Oh, almost got myself. So yeah, without any further ado, let's go ahead and open this thing up. And then we'll rip some of it off. Oh, beautiful. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start taking pieces off. Let's try this thing. Yeah, this thing slaps. I'll say because I was rushed for time, I think it could have definitely sat in the foil a little bit longer. The fat isn't like completely rendered, but it's not so chewy and bouncy that it like you can actually notice it. Just like a good pulled pork, once the meat and the fat are together, when you're eating it, it just melts in your mouth. So very good. If I wasn't rushed for time, I think it could have came out a lot better, but very pleased with it nonetheless. Okay, so I took the brisket off the cooker. It's been about 8 hours. It's looking really nice. The bark is totally set. You know, it's not coming off at all. I went ahead and rolled out 2 pieces of paper, and as you can see, the paper's wet because I used that beef tallow over there. Sorry for the dirty plate. I was eating some pulled pork earlier, but yeah, I just took the little what do you call it, like the baster brush, and dipped it in tallow and then made like a square here. So I'm basically gonna wrap this brisket in this fat and then put it back on the cooker. Just like I said, wrapped it up, put it back on the cooker, and it should be done in a few hours at about 202 to 205, 208 degrees. Yeah, so I'll just be checking it periodically, seeing what the temperatures are and how that brisket actually feels. And once it feels like the probe goes through like butter, I know it's done. So, brisket update. So it's currently 4:10 in the afternoon. I went ahead and pulled the brisket at about 3:30. So all I did was put it in this cooler, and inside the cooler I have a towel. And basically what that does is try to keep the heat in there, because basically this was like, after trimming it, like a 12-pound brisket. I cooked it at 250. So because it kind of was cooked quickly, you know, I want to kind of rest it very slowly. So by doing this method, putting it in a towel and in a cooler, it will come down super slowly because the cooler is insulated. I want it to rest for at least like 3 to 4.5 hours at least. Yeah, I have a get together tonight. It should be over at 8:30, and that's when I will cut the brisket. Okay, the time has finally come. We're gonna cut the brisket. So I made the fatal error earlier when I rewrapped the brisket. Because I used the rendered beef fat, the paper was so soupy that like I got beef fat like all over my clothes. So just FYI, if you have an apron, please wear it, or wear clothes that like you don't care about, because barbecue will like ruin your clothes. Anyway, enough talk. Let's get this thing open. So it's been about 5 hours. It's been resting in here. Ooh, almost lost it. Moist on the paper, as you can see. beautiful. Look at this thing. Wow. That was the cook. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but this was actually my third brisket that I have cooked thus far. I cooked a second brisket for my sister that was a lot smaller than actually both of the briskets that I've done in the past, the first one and this last one. It was about 7 pounds, and that one came out pretty good. So yeah, after my first failed attempt at the Christmas brisket, I definitely wanted to try and do a brisket that I thought was at least decent before I recorded another one. So this was actually, again, my third brisket that I did, but hey, your boy got it, right? That was not bad. I was really pleased with the results. If anything, the only thing I could have asked for was a little bit more smoke flavor. But I think that's because I was running the pit at 250. So in the future, I would love to try and do another brisket at 225. Yeah, I think that would be the best way to basically rise the temperature up slower and also absorb as much smoke flavor as possible. I also want to add more wood the next time I smoke on the Weber Smoky Mountain, because I think that would also add to, you know, increase the amount of smoke flavor. But yeah, all in all, that was a fantastic brisket. I mean, you saw me doing a little dance when I was trying that, even just the flat portion. But yeah, no leftovers. You know, yeah, I've been stuffing my face with brisket the past couple days. But yeah, anyway, thanks for riding with me, and I will catch you guys on the next one.